Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 20for Good webinar series. My name is Tariro Nyimo, and I'm Head of Stakeholder Engagement and Fundraising at Digital Frontiers. I am with my colleague, Naz, who will introduce herself shortly. We just wanted to say we apologize that Gavin, our CEO, and the main stakeholder of the 20for Good movement, is unable to join us for this exciting webinar, which is part of the launch of the 20for Good movement, because he's feeling ill. So you have us for the next hour, and I'll let Naz introduce herself.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you, Tariro. And thank you, participants, for joining us today. My name is Nazrana Sultan, and I'm the Head of Strategy and Business Planning for Digital Frontiers. It's my pleasure to host this webinar with Tariro. This webinar is 20for Good, a new and impactful framework designed to redefine job-creating ecosystems. We look forward to engaging with you, and we look forward to your questions at the end of the sessions. We hope it is insightful as it is insightful. It is for us as it is for you, and we can't wait to get started.
Thank you, Naz. So I think the run of the show, how we're going to host this webinar is we're going to have a conversation and try and define 20for Good and the problem that we're trying to solve in the world, right? With the specific focus on our continent. As you know, Digital Frontiers headquarters is in Cape Town. Our main reach is in Sub-Saharan Africa, so we do have an African focus. I think what we'll do, Naz, is we'll play the video first, and after that, we'll get into some kind of discussion between ourselves using our slides, and then we will ask the audience to pose some questions. So, Hlumani, I'll hand over to you so you can play the video.
Digital Frontiers has launched a multi-stakeholder movement called 20for Good. The initiative aims to direct at least 20% of the world's future workforce towards SDG innovations. We will achieve this by equipping the future workforce with the necessary skills and stimulating ecosystems that will create jobs and opportunities while making a positive impact. We face a pressing reskilling crisis in a rapidly evolving world, where 85% of jobs will be new by 2030, and half of all employees will need reskilling. The need for job-creating ecosystems in SDG net positive innovations is more critical than ever. By 2030, 375 million youths will join the African job market alone, pushing the workforce to over 1 billion people, the largest in the world. Globally, by 2030, 800 million youths will be insufficiently skilled to enter the workforce. While traditional trade and commerce will continue to adapt and upskill its workforce to this rapidly evolving future, we must ask, where will the innovations in workforce contributing to the Sustainable Development Goals come from? Who will invent future jobs and define the skills to solve the world's greatest challenges? Who will be the entrepreneurs or employers? What could job-creating ecosystems in SDG net positive innovations look like? How can we turn the young and growing workforce in low and middle-income countries into a workforce for good? Herein lies a transformative opportunity to direct at least 20% of the world's future workforce towards SDG innovations, equip them with the necessary skills, and stimulate ecosystems that will create jobs and opportunities while making a positive impact. This solution has the potential to not only tackle the reskilling and employment crisis but also make a significant contribution to sustainable development, paving the way for a brighter future for all. These ecosystems can provide the opportunities our youth need to thrive. 20for Good is a multi-stakeholder movement that aims to establish, execute, and scale interventions. These interventions are placed at the intersection of jobs and the Sustainable Development Goals, resulting in new jobs, new skilled and reskilled labor. The resulting environmental and social impacts are immense, such as increased food production, access to renewable energy innovations, reduced waste, better access to health, increase in micro, small, and medium enterprises, increase in localized manufacturing and production, and the increased momentum to the digitization of low-income economies. 20forGood will focus on stimulating innovations that create jobs at a systemic level, while contributing to sustainable development goals. Here are some examples. Agri-innovation, addressing SDG 2, aspiring toward zero hunger. With a growing global population and increasing demand for food, there is a need for more sustainable and efficient agriculture practices. Jobs, precision agriculture, vertical farming, and alternative protein sources could play a key role in addressing food security challenges and reducing agriculture's environmental impact while generating new jobs. Healthcare innovation, addressing SDG 3, aspiring toward good health and well-being. With an aging global population and as the world grapples with both new and existing diseases, there is an increasing need for innovation in healthcare delivery and treatment. Innovations in biotech and digital health fields will play a critical role in addressing healthcare accessibility and affordability challenges while improving patient outcomes and creating new job categories in healthcare. Circular economy, addressing SDG 12, aspiring toward responsible consumption and production. Innovations that focus on reducing waste and promoting the reuse and recycling of materials can help to address the growing problem of waste and pollution while also stimulating the creation of jobs. Renewable energy, addressing SDG 7, aspiring toward affordable and clean energy. Innovations related to the development and deployment of renewable energy technologies, such as solar, wind, and hydropower, can play a critical role in addressing climate change. This will reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. This field is already creating new jobs in production, distribution, and maintenance. Environmental conservation, addressing SDG 14 and 15, aspiring to conserve life below water and on land. Innovations related to the conservation and restoration of natural resources through reforestation, forest management, fire prevention and agroforestry, sustainable fishing practices, ocean cleanup technologies and coral reef restoration, and wildlife tracking and conservation. Innovations in these areas can help to protect our planet's biodiversity and ensure the sustainability of our natural resources for future generations. Accelerating these innovations will, in turn, accelerate new categories of jobs for good. Education innovation, addressing SDG 4, aspiring toward quality education. With rapid changes in technology and how we work, there is a growing need for innovative approaches to education and training. Innovations in edtech, online learning, and adult education address the skills gap and provide more opportunities for lifelong learning. Help us learn about other job-creating ecosystems for good. Join us as a partner, participant, funder, or investor.
Thank you for that video, packed full of information, packed with excitement that Digital Frontiers is resonating really at this stage with this launch about our movement, our global movement, 20forGood. So what we're going to do now is we will share the presentation, Shumani, and just go through a few slides. What I'll do is I'll paint the context again, do some reinforcement of what has already been said in the video, and then Naz will let us know what we've done so far with regards to 20forGood, what is happening now and where we see the future and how we could possibly participate. So to start, Shumani, I want the first slides that talk about 85% of future jobs not being invented yet, that define what the problem statement for 20forGood. So as we heard from the video, 20forGood is a movement that aims to direct 20% of all workforce to SDG net positive jobs. Those are jobs for good. So we're aiming that of all the jobs that are future jobs that are being made, at the very least, 20% of those, we want to direct them to solving the world's greatest challenges and being jobs for good. Now, when we talk about jobs, and I think if we're looking at the landscape, whether it's donor perspective or corporates or governments, I think jobs is a key issue, is a key intervention that is required, especially jobs for youth. Now, a World Economic Forum states that 20%, 85% of all future jobs have not even been created. That's jobs for 2030 have not even been created. And we know about the youth bulge, about African youths, about how 42% of all youth around the globe will come from Africa. Now, when I hear that statistics, I know that my son is part of that youth that is going to be looking for jobs in 2030, and we're in 2024. That's 6 years from now. It's quite soon that we're going to be experiencing this issue, and therefore we want to secure a good future. What the video said, I think it was a great future for our kids, for us. There's going to be an issue of reskilling, an issue of skills. I think there's another statistic that talks about 800 million youth saying that across the globe, this is across the globe, not having the essential core skills to join the workforce or be part of the workforce. So those are some of the issues that 20forGood is looking to solve, right? So I'm working without slides here. Now, what are these challenges that we're trying to solve? The pressing challenges across the globe, and we're looking at themes around sustainable development goals like agriculture, food systems. That's an issue that has everyone, all major stakeholders, all presidents or governments, donors rallying around. Sustainable farming, food for area. Can we produce for the amount of people that are going to be, for the population that is estimated to be in the world? So food systems and the job systems around that is an issue that at Digital Frontiers we've started thinking about. And I think it's the first thing that we've delved into. It's the first thing that we've tried to bring in experts to discuss and look at the ecosystem in itself and how we can stimulate that for jobs for the future and jobs that are our youth, that youth bulge can join into. Themes like circular economy, which is under SDG 12, which is responsible consumption, and how we can, cause that innovation that's already happening within that theme. All of these are new themes and things that we've heard of that now Digital Frontiers is looking at, and not just looking at any kind of jobs, but jobs that are innovative. So that means there's a technology aspect to it, there's an infrastructure aspect to it, and then it's for good. It's SDG net positive. It's doing no harm. It's doing more good. So at that intersection, can we create 20, at least from all the jobs that are happening, 20% should be at that intersection, bringing in the youth, being able to skill and reskill existing labor, and then we create a better future. So those are some of the things. Another theme that we are interested in, that we would like to partner with those who already are working with this or who are already thinking of issues to do with jobs, the lack of skills, what kind of technology, and equipping people, reskilling individuals and creating jobs for our youth, is renewable energy, renewable and clean energy. That could be solar energy, hydropower, and the ecosystem around. How can we break that way of doing things, a way of consuming energy, and get create new jobs within those delivery channels, within those distribution channels, within that ecosystem, within all the players that are working towards renewable and clean energies, and creating jobs around that. Okay, so if you can move, Lumani, maybe to the next slide and the following slide. I think now I can look at the different stakeholders and how you can participate. What we've done so far around launching 20forGood is we've really established. Now, in the established stage, we've defined 20forGood. We've looked at the problem, the data around it, and brought together experts who can convene and find a body of knowledge that supports that there actually is a problem. And like I said before, the issue of youth employment, the issue of jobs for the future, there are many stakeholders who are already playing in this. But what's unique about 20forGood is we're really at the intersection of innovation, SDG, positive, and jobs, and creating those jobs for good. So it's that unique niche that we're establishing, and the next stage would be to execute, create the programming around that, and the next stage would be to scale. Now, proposition for funders is if you partner with us, or if you come join us and define this and look for evidence around job creating ecosystems, what can we actually create these new jobs, and look for pathways around going forward, then you would have directed funding towards job creation, which is an intervention that a lot of funders are looking into. There's also the opportunity of reskilling labor, right? Creating that labor that is equipped for the future, and the social impact that comes after that. For example, within food systems, you will have increased food production, participation of low-income youth and women, and development of low-income countries, which is an issue that a lot of our funders and donors are interested in. And then proposition for corporates. So if you are a corporate, you will possibly have a CSR interventions that you support. So you could use your brand to support 20forGood. And this comes with themes around jobs and even reskilling your labor force, and equipping your own company for the future. And then the proposition for impact investors is really to leverage off 20forGood evidence and advocacy, and test the investment thesis and business models, using our pipeline of project as a test, and have access to a pipeline of startups that come out of this job creating ecosystem, and check if they are investable and scalable. So I feel like I've been rambling, Naz, so I'll stop there and have you continue.
Thank you, Tariro. I just loved how you unpacked 20forGood, and you've made my job easier. What I loved about your explanation is that you looked at specifically the distinct characteristics and the advantages that the 20forGood movement and how it sets itself apart from other movements. There is a global agenda that talks about the future of jobs, and there are numerous frameworks that have emerged regarding what the jobs of the future would look like. But 20forGood sets itself apart from these frameworks. So whilst you delved into those characteristics and discussed how effectively we will define and nurture a job creating ecosystem, I will go and I will discuss how we would go about doing this. So in my slides, you will see 3 schematics. So these 3 schematics looks at how 20forGood will go about initiating each phase of the movement. So the first stage, which is the establishing phase, 24Good will concentrate on 3 to 5 SDG aligned themes, the ones that Tariro spoke about, which could be, we started off with agri, there is nature conservation, renewable energy, climate change, circular economy, the ones that we've listed as some of the SDG aligned themes. We will then facilitate, which we are currently doing in our Frontier seminar, a multi-stakeholder working group where we will establish implementing partnerships. These advocacy and knowledge platforms will be developed and scaled, and thought leadership, business models, and success stories will be disseminated. The increased understanding of the potential for job creation in SDG-focused sectors, combined with the strengthened network and collaboration among experts, innovators, organizations, will generate an initial pipeline of promising job-creating innovations and interventions. And that's where you see the circle at the end, which is the ecosystem-generated interventions, the body of evidence, the programming, and partnerships. The second stage, the next slide, is where 24Good will be executing on this, where this is where we will provide and increase access to financial resources and support for these SDG-aligned innovations and ventures. The enhanced skills and capacity among the entrepreneurs and the workforce will create SDG solutions. Deployment of innovation funds and support resources, where we will launch a pilot project and early stage ventures in the job creating ecosystem. So if you look at stage 2 specifically, what we're doing is we're providing and scaling advocacy and knowledge sharing platforms, and we're scaling the actual theme. We go about sourcing and deploying localization and technical assistance on the partnerships where needed. And lastly, what we do is we try into stage 3, we commit with multilaterals and other partnerships in implementing and securing scaled and innovation implementation funds. And then the last schematic is the scaling. The third slide, the money. The scaling. So here, the movement has formed and we have created momentum. So here, 24Good has created an impactful global movement and advocacy. So we've done the advocacy, the thought leadership, the business models, the successes and the failures. And then we look at the Impact Venture Capital Fund, the Innovation Fund, and we expand on the first and the second stage. So here, what we do is the initiative will invest and we will support and scale viable ecosystem, resulting in self-sustaining job-creating ecosystem, which will lead to an increased workforce orientated towards skilling for SDG innovations. And then the last slide is how can we, and who is involved in these phases? So the executing partners are your subject matter experts, your academia, your capacity builders, your entrepreneurs, your innovators, funders. The interventions that I mentioned and the activities that goes with each of those phases that I've outlined in those schematics encompasses a diverse set of skills and services that may not be found in our organization, Digital Frontiers. And as such, the fundamental implementing partnership structure is essential for the establishment of the 24Good movement. And so we want to partner with you and or other multi-stakeholder partners in establishing the 24Good success. And so we are actively securing corporate sponsorship, donor funding in both phase 1, in all phases, phase 1, 2, and 3, where we can make an impactful change on the 24Good movement. And then the last slide, if you want to contact us to make any contribution towards the 24Good movement, our contact details are there. Gavin, our CEO, my contact details, and Tariro, should you want any further details. And that's me. I'll hand you over to Tariro, where we will ask now any Q&A from the audience.
Thank you very much, Naz. So we've come to the interactive segment of the webinar, and we're hoping that we've picked your brain, we've planted some seeds, and you have a lot of questions about where Digital Frontiers is going, what the 20for Good movement means for you, how you can partner, what pressing issue around the world that you're most concerned about, because the world is changing and the future is different. The future is digital and the future is African youth from the data that we know. So all of this is exciting for us as a continent. It's exciting for our children or our youth, but we also need to be prepared for it. And if we're seeing any gaps, this is what 20for Good is all about. What area of expertise do you have, and how can you contribute to some of the themes that we've talked about here? Shumani, are there any questions, or I can actually pose it to Naz so she can tell us what excites her the most, or maybe the thematic area that excites you the most, or that you're worried about the most, that you need 20for Good to really focus on and start rallying the movement, the partnerships, the academia on it, the donors on it. Shumani?
So for now, there are no questions, but people are very excited and love the presentation. Okay, so here we have a question from Tolbert Mucheri. So what metrics will we use to calculate the 20% beyond 2030 SDGs timeline? What happens to 20for Good given the link to SDGs?
I think that's a good question, and it's a question that, and I know Tolbert is one of our partners for 20for Good in the agri innovation theme. So thank you, Tolbert, for joining. And maybe we can give you a chance to also talk about what you are excited about. But I'll try and answer the metrics thing. So we had an example of a funder that we were talking to that is looking to say get 20 million jobs for youth by 2030. And then in that situation, 20for Good would say at least 20% of that is going to be towards jobs for good, are going to be jobs that are at the intersection, that are SDG net positive jobs. And so 20% of 20 million, and because my brain is scattered, I don't know if that's 1 million of those jobs are 20for Good jobs. So that's how we would structure it. And if we are supposed to get those jobs by, say, 5 years, then we would say how many of those can we do in a year. But remember, we are in a 3-stage process for launching the 20for Good, where we establish, we build and scale at the end. So we'll give ourselves at least some time to get the project started, to get the project defined, and then possibly within the next 3 years, then start saying maybe we can start with 200,000 jobs in year 3, or a model similar to that. I don't know if you want to comment, Tolbert. Can we unmute him, Shuman?
Let's see.
Yes, Tolbert. Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Tariro and Naz. Really, the unpacking is very exciting. I'm super excited about 20for Good. And of course, thank you for the responses to the questions I raised earlier on. But I'll first answer your earlier question, that what excites you about 20for Good? Well, quite a lot. I can say the whole initiative is so disruptive and very exciting. Why? We are all aware of when we look at the teething challenges the world is facing today. There are quite a lot of challenges which diverse countries are grappling with. And sometimes you find that policies are more geared towards ensuring, yes, there's economic development, incomes grow, industries grow, but the intentionality to really have jobs or opportunities that are earmarked to address social challenges, there's been limited attention over past decades. And the upcoming of this initiative, the 20for Good, which looks at, looking into the future, imagine a world where 20% of jobs are really looking at addressing the challenges articulated in SDGs. That will definitely make this world a better place to be. And if you look at the teething challenges around unemployment, etc., 20for Good is trying to zoom into championing creation of job opportunities or job ecosystems that are tailor-made to address these social challenges, which are well articulated in the 17 SDGs. So really excited, and this resonates quite well with where the world is going. If we look at how technology is disrupting the workplace, again, big questions kind of emerge to say, so if this is what is happening in the marketplace, how should the young people, the youth of today, recalibrate, re-engineer to look at, so how best can they find space in the labor market, but at the same time, how can they also be part of the solution finders, especially towards addressing the challenges that speak to SDGs. So thank you so much, Tariro, for the in-depth presentation and the exciting value propositions that you've articulated in there.
Thank you, Tolbert, for your comments. Thank you for your participation. We are so excited to work with you, for you to lead us with the agri-innovation theme, lead us to a body of knowledge that can give us more answers to all these questions that we still have, especially around technology, around the kind of jobs that we can, new jobs, really. Remember, we had that statistic that says 85% of all jobs haven't been created. So we're looking into those new jobs. And that is one of the key pillars for 20for Good. I don't know, Naz, if you have a comment after Tolbert, and we can move to the next question.
Sure. I just wanted to add about the metrics about the 20%. So 20for Good can equate to around 70 million new jobs by 2030, using the McKinsey forecast for 2030 that Tariro referred to at the beginning of this webinar. However, excuse me, the advantage of having that proportionate goal rather than an absolute is that it can be tracked across any time frame. So in 6 years, which is to 2030, 20% of net new jobs for good can be created. And that's where the distinction comes in, because the for good element that you see in the 20for Good has an overlay of other new occupations that will come into existence in the future. I think that's what I just wanted to add, excuse me.
Okay, thank you, Naz. And it seems like we're getting questions from our partners, from partners for 20for Good, which is great, because then that means they're really thinking about it and they want to share, they want to explore more. So I'm going to ask Shumani for you to unmute FES again, from DIS, our partners for the agri-innovation theme. And he's got a question on digital mindset and how we're preparing people for that. And I also want to invite people to our digital public infrastructure webinar that is coming, and that is going to explore some of these things, that if the future is digital, are we preparing people for that future and leaving no one behind? But we know of success stories of how those who are underserved or marginalized groups that we know, including the youth and women, are a priority when it comes to not leaving them behind in this highly digitized society that we have. But before I go on rambling, I'll ask Ephios to weigh in.
Hi, Tariro. Hi, Naz. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Excellent. No, thank you so much for this initiative. These webinars, they really, open our minds. The unpacking of 24Good initiative that you have done is excellent. So yeah, I asked that question to just trigger our minds, to get ourselves to thinking. What are the plans to engender a digital transformation mindset to prepare individuals, organizations, and society for the age of acceleration? One interesting thing about the 24Good initiative, you have presented it so well, where you were talking about the 24Good initiative lying at the intersection of so many domains. And what pivots 24Good is actually innovation, and that is one thing I like about 24Good. So we are thinking about individuals, organizations, the society in particular, not to be disconnected in an increasingly connected world. And how do we harness the capabilities of the available, technologies that make the world global? How do we leverage so that we learn from each other? These technologies have democratized knowledge. Knowledge is no longer a domain of some university school somewhere, but we can share, we can collaborate, we can always share the knowledge. So this is what I'm seeing in 24Good. We have put together diverse minds, and what is enabling that sharing of knowledge? It is technology. So as we then delve down into the verticals to say, okay, we are within agriculture, we are in health, we are in this kind of economy. We should always think about how do they interrelate? How do we make use of the available knowledges riding on technologies to solve society's problems? So this is what we're trying to do, in 24Good, as we focus on job creation. Because we have got to live in to live in the future and to imagine the future now, to create the future. How is the future going to look like from where we are now? So and we have got to envision it. The youth, what is it that they would want? So I liked a conference that I attended, was a workshop or something. It was invited by Gavin. It was on social agriculture and how the youth today, especially in Kenya and Nigeria, are leveraging on technology, on the capabilities of social media to share information on agriculture, information about markets, about availability of certain types of crops, certain types of fruit, and it's quite interesting. So I will repeat, what I said, which touches me quite well, that as we carry out the 24Good initiative, innovation is right at the center. We want to see how we can create new ideas. How can we get those ideas to work, to instantiate those ideas, so that we open possibilities for the youths. Thank you.
Thank you, Ephios. And you just reminded me of a story. I met a young farmer. He calls himself crop doctor in Zimbabwe. So he grew up on a farm, on his father's farm, and saw the struggles that his father had, especially when the crops or his yield would be attacked by some kind of disease, or I don't know the correct term that we use in agriculture. But so what he did using technology, right? Like you were saying, the youth are using technology to do amazing things. He created an app where if he just takes a picture of the plant with the disease or the bacteria or whatever it is, and I don't know if it's AI or I don't know the tech behind it, but then it generates information and it tells them exactly what the disease is, what they're supposed to do about it, what they can get, and even where they can get the pesticide or whatever it is, and possibly the price of it. So you can imagine how convenient that is for the farmers that are farming now, and how difficult it was. Possibly it was a different way of doing things. We now have a different way of doing things. And so these are some of the things that would, and he's created a business for himself, right? We're talking about stuff. So he's an MSME right there. And that interest impact investors, like what we said, and how can we create jobs across his value system that requires him to produce all that information on that phone, and what he needs, to make it sustainable for the future. So those are some of the job creating ecosystems that we can talk about.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
And we have a few more questions. The first one from Daniel Johannes. Do you have any initiatives open or planned in Ethiopia? Since I am CDFP and digitalization advocacy, happy to partner within the 24Good.
So Ethiopia is a big agricultural country. I know there are lots of initiatives that are happening in there, meaning that you have that context that comes from Ethiopia, and also you understand digital payments or the inclusive digital economy that the world, including Africa, is moving towards. So we're going to have a chance to produce working groups like what Naz shared in her schematics. That is a great opportunity for experts, for contributors to weigh in and join and express their interests to join working groups. So please check out the website and the links that Shumani has shared, and you can express your interest there to join a working group, and then you can participate.
And then our next question, Connie Storum. Have you delivered programs with some of your partners on the Leader of Tomorrow? What type of leader will the world require to lead employees of the future? And have you also rolled out programs for women entrepreneurs who are financially excluded?
Exceptional question there and weighing in. I think maybe we didn't really highlight as much that gender or gender equality. I think Ifya spoke about it a little bit. Is a cross-cutting theme across 20for Good. Even in the thematic areas that we highlighted, gender equality is a cross-cutting theme in food systems, in health, in climate change, in renewable energy. Women in renewable energy is something that excites me as well. So it's an issue that we are looking into and will be represented in all working groups. So if you are interested in that could be an area that you express your interest to contribute. I mean, women's leadership and how young women should lead within jobs for the future is a critical issue that we need to talk about, so that they are not excluded. And of that portion of youth bulge on the continent, how many of them are women, and how many of them actually will have access in this digitized opportunity to be part of those job creating ecosystem, to occupy space within those jobs, is an issue that we are focusing on, that we are prioritizing. So yes, it's a theme that we're looking at 20for Good. Naz, do you have anything to comment on that issue? Say something?
No, I'm good. I just want to thank the participants for the exciting questions, and I see that everyone wants to contribute and be a partner to 24Good. So don't forget, you can partner. We have, Shomani has given our email addresses, as well as our 24Good website. So have a look at it and engage with us, whether on social media or send us an email, and let's see how we can partner.
Thank you, Naz. Shuman, is there a question that you want to highlight? Just also to add that the case studies can be country specific. So maybe within the working groups, we can focus on country specific issues, but the initiative is global and it's multi-stakeholder, and it involves a lot of different participants. So let's look at it from a big picture point of view and maybe operationalize on a case-by-case basis. So let's have that mindset.
No other question, Tariro, in the chat.
Okay. I can invite Effies and Tolbert to have some final comments before we close.
I'm not sure if okay. I'm unmuted. Okay, thanks, Tariro. You know, from our side, we are maybe, you know, participants in the room might want to know that we have partnered with Digital Frontiers, you know, within the 24Good initiative. We are called Digital Information Services. So what we do is we really work on you know, innovation ideas. You know, so we're quite happy about especially these initiatives. This webinar series initiatives is quite important. I've been thinking that, you know, we can do contributions. I've seen some kind of questions that have been put there. I think, sorry, is my video on or off? No, don't put it on. I'm just asking.
It's off.
Okay, no, thank you. No, thank you. So yeah, thanks so much for these initiatives, and we're looking forward to working with you and expand, you know, our horizon, and, you know, engage during working groups with people from Rwanda, Ethiopia, and all over the continent, so that we bring these ideas together, because what matters is bringing the ideas together, because ideas are what start, and then next you go to innovation, next you encourage entrepreneurship. So it's a chain that goes that way. So thanks so much, Digital Frontiers, and for what you did, especially coming up with these initiatives.
Thank you, Effie. We're so excited about what's going to happen, what's happening in the next 4 weeks, and what else we can do to execute and scale in the next stages of 24Good.
Great, thanks.
Tolbert?
Tolbert is no longer on the webinar.
Okay, great. So I'd like to thank everyone for giving us this opportunity to share about 24Good, to define it, to paint the problem, and to invite you all to join that movement and find a way to participate. So please feel free to express your interest in many ways. Please feel free to ask the many questions, because we are at the established stage, and the established stage is really posing all those questions and building the evidence, or getting the evidence that really there is a problem that we need to solve, that will bring in for good, that will anchor the sustainable development goals. So thank you for that opportunity. Naz, final comments, and then we go.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for their time today. And I hope that we have equipped you with the knowledge and tools in today's webinar to drive significant change within your own sectors. And we look forward to partnering with you in the future in nurturing this job-creating ecosystem for good.
Thank you. Shomani, we'll close the session. Thank you very much.